So hi everyone, this is Dr. Zishan, founder of Everose Executive Education and Everose Startup School. We have a very special guest today. He's the founder of BatteyLala. And I'm going to ask him to introduce himself and his product as well. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became the founder of BatteyLala?
Thanks for inviting me. I'm founder and CEO at BatteyLala.
Sure.
BatteyLala is an e-commerce where we sell batteries, the car batteries, the solar batteries, the inverter batteries, and all types of batteries. This is what we do.
All right, so could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, as in what type of education you had? Did you actually do a job? How is it that you became an entrepreneur? Because in Pakistan, to become an entrepreneur, it's a very difficult thing.
I belong to Fata tribal areas, Parachinar. And
it's a beautiful place. I've been there.
Yeah, and business is something that I carry in my blood. I have never dropped my CV anywhere, and I have studied chartered accountancy. And from the day when I started my high school, when I graduated my high school, I decided to come to business. I'm in business by choice.
Okay, that's interesting. So, I mean, what about this idea for your latest startup? How is it that you actually came to that? Why didn't you go into like food or clothing or all these other types of businesses that people are going into?
When I came to business, I was looking for some potential business, and the energy crisis were there. And I chose this specific niche of batteries because what I noticed was the battery manufacturer had experienced almost 100 times growth since 2007 when the energy crisis started. So I thought this is something amazing because energy crises are there, and if I try to solve this problem, it can be a good start. I can make money. I came to this business in 2014, and first I started it like a common battery retailer. I was a common battery retailer. Then I got some dealerships, and I faced a problem. I was waiting for the customer. Then I decided why not to add some tech blend in this current business model. Why shouldn't I open my outlets across millions of smartphones? I made a simple web application, and then I worked on it. I was very practical in I was practical that I have to reach to the maximum, to the mass audiences. So I chose the best medium of advertisement, which was Facebook. Facebook is the main medium that I have used. So this way I converted my common non-tech business into tech. I came into battery business in 2014, and I started BatteyLala.com in April 2017. So that's how I came into tech. That's how I converted a non-tech business into tech.
Right, so ever since you've actually started, this is basically an e-commerce portal, the way I understand it.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between your business before you were online and now that you're online? How has the growth actually worked out?
The growth is tremendous, but I faced some issues. Like the issue of logistic was the most bothering issue that I have faced. I started receiving orders from different regions. Like when I took my product to the courier companies, like the normal e-commerces do, I was thinking that I can also rely on them. Like the RAS is relying on them. Go to India, where all of them are relying on independent e-commerce, independent courier companies. So they straight away rejected the product. They said it's a liquid acid-filled item. And the acid which is used in batteries is sulfuric acid, H2SO4. It's the most dangerous acid. So and the second thing that I faced was, Okay, so how did I try to solve this problem? I started solving this problem by handing over my battery to the highesses. For example, a person ordered battery from Jalem, and I handed over his batteries to the highest. But still, were still issues. I mean, he had to get up from his comfort zone, and he had to receive that from the highest.
Exactly.
Yeah, and installation was important. And then the old battery issue was very important. He wanted to give us his old battery, and old battery has a considerable price, normally 30 to 40% of the new product. It has an adjustable price. So all these issues were very bothering initially. I mean, I have sold 10,000 plus batteries since April 2017 till now. But the orders I have received is above 50,000 batteries. And I couldn't do that. But then this problem, this was the biggest weakness BatteyLala had actually. Then this weakness became an opportunity for me. And I started thinking that, wow, if this weakness exists, the RAS cannot be my competitor.
Yeah.
And I am working in $1 billion industry.
Right.
It's not a smaller niche. So in terms of revenue, I can fall nearer to the RAS if this weakness exists. Because if it's a weakness for me, it is a weakness for the RAS as well. I mean, if they try to overcome this issue, if they try to come up with this or solve this issue, if they want to sell batteries, which is $1 billion niche, they will have to change their complete logistic infrastructure, which they won't do. So this became an opportunity for me. And then I started recently my branch in Lahore, in Peshawar. And in Lahore, we started working through an independent agent. Now, there are many issues with working an independent agent. I mean, you can sell the battery once or twice because the independent agent actually pushes his own receipt, his own name. That's what the RAS is doing. I mean, if you are a vendor at the RAS and your next door neighbor orders something at the RAS, you cannot give him directly the product.
Yeah, you have the middleman.
You have to have a middleman. Middleman is not just a delivery partner. It is kind of a security for the RAS. I mean, the buyer doesn't know who's selling this product actually. This is the privacy. It must exist. So this was another issue that we faced with an independent agent. So now we are very clear of what we should do next. And what we are doing next is we are going to reach to the buyers through BatteyLala and not an independent agent, not anybody else.
All right, so what about the funding aspect? I mean, when you started your business, and then especially after you made it into an e-commerce portal, I mean, what type of investment were you looking at, and how did you actually get it? Because I'm asking this because the number one issue that I hear from startups is that no one's willing to fund anything.
Okay. Actually, funding was not important for us, to be very honest. We appeared on Idea Karodonka. We were funded 40 million rupees thanks to the investors. But to be very honest, we were taking it as a free advertisement platform. We wanted to represent ourselves to the public. If you watch my pitch, I started my pitch by appealing to three communities: the customers, the importers of the specialized batteries, and these e-commerces. I wanted to collaborate with these e-commerces. I wanted to tell them that they should accept me the way we are, the way our product works actually. So the youth, if they are looking for funding is very challenging. It looks appealing when you start money. I mean, it's great. But when the startup cannot utilize the funding, when a startup is not mature enough to get something out of that funding, it is very bothering because, I mean, standing in a court of investor, it's very embarrassing. I would not recommend funding before the concept is too much clear, or the business really needs funding. I mean, sometimes the funding is not needed, but we think that funding is needed. It's a misnomer. So I think we didn't need funding.
Yeah, because I've seen it's in Pakistan, I've seen two types of startups. The first type that I've seen, for example, at Nust Incubation Center, what they're doing is they have like 17 employees or 15 employees, and what they're asking for 50% or 40% of the business is like 10 lakh, 12 lakh, 13 lakh rupees, which is nothing.
Yeah.
So they're making that type of mistake. Then I have lots of business I've seen, even recently I saw one. This guy was making a fashion brand. So he was an excellent tailor, excellent tailor. Like when I met him, I told him, okay, if you take this product and you go to Paris, I lived there for 6 years. Okay. So I was like, if you go to Champs-Élysées, you can sell this for maybe like $1,500 or whatever. And so this guy became very proud of the fact that he has a very good product. Now he has absolutely no funding, 50,000 rupees, that's all he has. Then I offered him, I was like, okay, I will give you not just the funding, 6 lakh rupees, whatever, but I will get you connected to those people in France who can actually sell your product over there. So this is a very good offer. In terms of money, it's not that much, I understand. But if he has only 50,000, 6 lakh rupees will sustain him for maybe another 6 months or 7 months. And most importantly, the networking that they can use in France. So this person, I said, okay, 6 lakh rupees, give me 33% share, I will connect you in France as well. Okay. And this person's like, no, I will give it to you for like 3 crore, 3% for 3 crore. Okay. And I was like, okay, just, have fun. Okay. Because this is insane, because you have to be realistic about the fact. I told him you might be successful, but that might take you 10 years, maybe 15 years to actually get to that level. So people have to be realistic and also not sell themselves short. This is what I believe. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Actually, now this is where the immaturity shows itself. Money is not something, I mean, there is a terminology, money equivalent. I mean, you were offering something, money, which is called money equivalent. It was more than money. But their immaturity lost something big. Honestly, if I were him, I would have, warmly accepted the offer.
Yeah, everyone keeps telling him that as well.
Yeah, for example, I have got money, but right now, this is money alone. It could be something equivalent to money, and maybe...
No, even if you leave that aside, the money aspect aside, if you're going to a European market.
Actually, let me tell you something. Most of the guys need money to facilitate or to start paying themselves. The money is not utilized for growth. They start. They are the. They are the ameen of your money. So it's up to them how do they invest your money. The money is not spent on growth in 90% of the cases. They started paying them good salaries and they don't care about the startup. This is the problem the youth has actually.
Yeah, because you have different types of models. For example, the way I made my money was I made an advanced analytics firm 2 years ago. Okay. I sold it to in the US for billions of dollars, millions of dollars. I'm not gonna specify the amount. I took that money and I converted that into Bitcoin, and then I started just handing out people 5-6 Bitcoin. Okay. This is it. So my idea of investment was that, for example, there was this one startup in France, where the father, he had a son who was not physically very strong, and every time he would go to play football, people would pick on him. Okay. So he designed an app in which he said, okay, kids that have the same physical ability, they should play together. Okay. Now, because this is a father creating something for his son, I can blindly invest in this. Okay. Because it's going to be something amazing. I mean, exactly. Think about something that you're making for your father or sister or son. Yeah. It's guaranteed to succeed because it has a very specific niche. Yeah. So that type of thing doesn't, happen over here. People just, I've seen so many startups, one type of startup comes and then 5 others show up with the exact same idea.
Exactly. They are called Me Too models. They work on Me Too models. Me Too model is not something bad, but the advantage of time, some people call it the first mover advantage. It cannot be encountered by even wonderful execution. Exactly. For example, If I take Facebook from Mark Zuckerberg and I take his identity from him, I take Facebook from him, and I tell him that you are a wonderful executor. You had made Facebook some years back. So let's do it again. Let's start another social media. I can guarantee he will never succeed. The world will never know him, because timing is an advantage. Just like I said, it can never be met by, for example, e-commerce, which I'm working, the domain of e-commerce, this is the simplest technology on earth right now in tech. A 10-year-old kid can develop a wonderful e-commerce web application. But if I develop a web application, rich in features, richer than the RAS or any other giant in Pakistan. The RAS is the giant in Pakistan, so I would exemplify him. So, what is the guarantee that it will be the next RAS? It cannot be, no matter how great an executor I become, because they have the advantage of timing is with them. So Me Too models fail because they don't have this specific advantage.
I completely agree, because look at Geo News.
Yeah.
That was the first brand that came out, independent news website, channel. And now there are tons of other channels. They have a lot more money, but they're not able to. Geo is number one.
Yeah.
Similarly, the first tissue paper brand in the US was called Kleenex.
Kleenex.
And in the US, they don't say tissue paper, they say Kleenex.
Oh,
even if it's rose petal, they say it's Kleenex.
Like we call the diapers Pampers.
Exactly. And so similarly, Xerox came out with the first photocopying machine. So in the US and also in Europe, they don't say photocopy, they say Xerox this. Or now we're saying Google this.
Google it.
Exactly.
It has become a verb.
Exactly. So that's the first mover advantage. Okay, so...
Okay, let me tell you an amazing thing. The Me Too model works, it has worked sometimes. For example, in ride-hailing services, it has worked.
Yes.
For example, Uber was the first ride-hailing service, and Careem and Ola Cabs and Grab and all these things, they are the Me Too models. But it was a different tech company. Some physical activity was involved behind just an app. For example, Uber, when it was working in America, they didn't have the captains in Pakistan. So it worked for Careem, they started from UAE, and it worked for Ola Cabs of India, it worked for Grab of China. But in pure tech, this is something which is not pure tech, some physical activities involved behind just an app. So in startups like Uber, the Me Too model works in most of the cases. But in pure tech, it doesn't work.
This is what I keep telling people in Pakistan, especially when they message me and they say, we have this money, we want to quit our job, we want to start something. I always tell them that go into the sharing economy. The sharing economy is the most profitable concept. For example, Airbnb doesn't have any hotels, doesn't own anything, it's pure money.
Amazing.
Similarly, Uber, it's the same thing. So, and then I floated this idea that, what about restaurants? Okay, for example, if there is someone downstairs who wants to cook something and sell it, or someone across the street who wants to cook something or sell it, then they should be able to do that. Then I found out that in Pakistan, there's 3 or 4 startups that are doing that, but no one knows about them.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's a potentially $1 million idea. Because this is what we need: transport, accommodation, and food.
Exactly. It can be $1 million idea, of course.
All right, so what I want to ask you is that what are the 3 most important things that you would advise young entrepreneurs to do in order to be successful?
First thing is, when they come to entrepreneurship, they should know a fact that this is risky and they have to burn their boats. There should be no option left that if I fail this thing, I'll go and do some job. Most of the guys who have failed many times, I'm against one concept, the serial entrepreneur thing. A serial entrepreneur is something like a serial killer. They have killed some startups in a row in a series, So this is wrong. When you are stuck, fail fast is a terminology which may work in Silicon Valley, but in Pakistan, I think it's bad. You have to stay stuck in with what you are doing, with your startup, with your concept. So stay stuck, don't go back. And if I categorize the factors which lead to a successful startup, funding comes in the last, The first one is idea. The second one is timing. If it should not be too early when you are creating awareness for your idea, it should not be too late when the bulks of competitors are already there. Third is execution, your team, your people. And fourth is funding. What is wrong with the current startup ecosystem is the guys think that funding comes first, then the idea, then the execution, and they think timing is last. I mean, look at this notion, this thing that I see people even in this era. I mean, they are starting, they are working, they want to work in ride hailing. This is the worst time to work in ride hailing. The war of titans is going on. Exactly. Both of them are unicorns, Kareem and Uber. I mean, how can you survive? Munib Meyer, who was the founder of Daraz, he started Baikia, and I'm sure he will close it very soon. He cannot survive, he cannot breathe, because war of titans is going on. So, I mean, look at this immaturity that people are coming into ride-hailing. Guys are launching ride-hailing application in 2018 in Pakistan. This shows their extreme immaturity. I mean, I would not even listen to those guys.
Yeah, because people don't understand the value of a brand. This is what I always keep telling them. If tomorrow all the restaurants of McDonald's burn down in the entire world, and the next day the CEO of McDonald's goes to any bank and says, okay, I need $7 billion, $10 billion to restart it, he's going to get it.
Exactly, he's going to get it.
And this is the thing, for example, if anybody wants to compete with Kareem or Uber, they will need at least like a few $1 million just to start.
Exactly. Even, I think, to be very honest, few $1 million are not enough. I mean, at a time they are facilitating. What is important in such ideas? Again, timings come. You have to bring the captain and the passenger in a time where they meet. Now, this timing is a critical issue. For example, you worked on captains. They installed your app and they are ready to pick some passengers. And you haven't worked on passengers, and the captain thought that no, they don't have passengers. And he just, uninstalled your app. And right then, a customer came and he just pinged.
Exactly.
And he pings and he sees that they don't have captains, and your app is deleted. Now there is a timing gap. You have to bring both of them simultaneously on your app. Exactly. Now this is the most critical issue. This issue is encountered. How did Uber encounter this issue? They started paying the captains by hourly rate, and the rate was very handsome.
Yeah.
What they did was they made sure that at least one community is there all the time. Let me work on the other community and bring them on board.
What I understand, Uber still hasn't made a profit.
Yeah, I think so.
They're still looking for that critical mass in which they're going to start.
Exactly. I share this opinion.
Are there any books that you would like to recommend to entrepreneurs?
Frankly, I don't study books. What I have learned is this is totally my experiences.
So, as a young, successful entrepreneur, we have a new government now. All right. So, suppose that you were talking to S01 or Imran Khan. What type of advice would you give them in order to boost the entrepreneurial sector in Pakistan?
I would like to tell him that tech is something he shouldn't ignore, because he should know that Apple and Amazon have become trillion-dollar companies. The foreign debt that we have, which has, boosted our blood pressures, it's a big problem for Pakistan. Amazon can pay this debt 15 times.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is so big. Google is worth around $800 billion. Apple has crossed $1 trillion worth. So tech is something which can be a savior for Pakistan. I mean, they should hand over this position of Minister of IoT to some able person who is not just a programming background, but he should know the business behind tech. And tech is something not ignorable, and this is where our topic is limited to. So this is my suggestion to him.
In closing, where do you see BatteyLala in the next 5 years?
In next 5 years, I'll stand closer to the Raz, inshallah. And this is my challenge. And my ideas are not limited to BatteyLala. I am working on something which, on your platform, for the first time, I'm guaranteeing, I'm going to give Pakistan its first unicorn. That is something very practical. I'm promising my people, I'm promising Pakistan. You know, Pakistan is my last love. It is a matter of shame for us that the neighboring India is having 10 or 11 unicorn companies, and I don't have one. Even not even a groundbreaking startup has come up now. But I have a plan, and I am going to give Pakistan its first unicorn company. And beating the Raz is not a big issue for me. In this specific niche, I guarantee you that I'll hold at least above 50% in the next 5 years. And this industry itself is $1 billion industry. So I think my evaluation will be very handsome. If I grab 50% of this industry, I'll stay closer to the Raz, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you so much for coming. Best of luck.
Thank you.
I like your confidence. I like the way that you're planning the future. I wish you well, because we're both working towards making Pakistan the #1 entrepreneurial country in the world. Inshallah. Thank you so much again.